Hello and welcome to Tech Deals. Do you want the absolute best pure gaming experience possible using an all AMD PC? Are you looking for high frame rates, great 1% lows, and next generation features on your CPU and GPU? Do you think Starfield from Bethesda is the next best thing to slice bread and the coolest new RPG to come along in years? If so, you've come to the right place. This is a very special video. Today, we're going to unbox the Starfield edition of the Ryzen 7 7800X 3D and the Radeon RX 7900 XTX. Then we're going to look at a few game benchmarks at 1440p and 4K to show off just what this epic hardware can really do. Without further ado, please sit back and relax, grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get into it. First, I want to thank Newegg for sponsoring this video and sending me this very special package to unbox for all of you. The Starfield edition of this CPU and GPU were made in limited numbers, so I appreciate them including me in this. You will find links in the video description below to Newegg for the full range of AMD CPUs and GPUs. More on my suggestions for what to buy later in the video. Second, I want to address the limited nature of this very epic set. It's a bit of a shame, really, but you won't be able to buy this awesome box at retail, and I think that's a bit of a miss on AMD's part. People are spending big bucks on Starfield gear, including controllers, headphones, and more. I think this would do very well if sold as a retail kit. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Third, I want to provide a brief rundown of the specs really quick. It's been covered before, but a refresher never hurts. The Ryzen 7 7800X 3D is a pure gaming CPU based on Zen 4 architecture. It features 8 cores on a single CCD die, 1 centralized I/O die, and full access to the entire 96 megabytes of L3 cache for all the cores. If you're gaming primarily on a single monitor and you want the purest gaming experience, this really is the best there is for that standard. The Ryzen 9 7950X 3D is the step-up option for this if you run multiple monitors, multitask, or create content with your PC in addition to gaming. That CPU has 3D cache on only half the cores and is slightly slower overall in gaming, but it is much faster if you can make use of 16 Zen 4 cores. The Radeon RX 7900 XTX is the top-of-the-line RDNA 3 card from AMD, featuring a massive 12,288 stream processors on 96 CUs. The standout feature here is 24 gigabytes of VRAM on a card that can be found for under $1,000 at retail today. This is absolutely enough VRAM for today and tomorrow. By the time 24 gigabytes of VRAM isn't enough, you'll be ready for a new card anyway. Featuring a whopping 96 megabytes of infinity cache, it should pair very well with either of the X3D chips from AMD. The other amazing spec I would like to mention is the incredible 56.5 teraflops of compute performance on offer. To put this into perspective, that is 50 plus times faster than ASCI Red, the world's first teraflop supercomputer built back in 1996 for more than $50 million. That computer featured thousands of Pentium Pro CPUs, and it filled up an entire server room. How far we've come in just a quarter century of progress. With all of that out of the way, let's open this up and show you what is inside the box. Then we'll get to some benchmarks. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the quality of this packaging. And again, I really do think this should be a retail box. This is not just cardboard. It has a really nice soft feel to it, and it's got a print to it that actually reflects light. So as the camera from the angle is probably not going to pick it up, but in the right light, all of this texture on here actually shimmers. It's very beautiful. You can tell that the box is pretty nice. In fact, when we take the lid off, you can feel the weight of it. Well, I can feel the weight of it. You'll have to take my word for it. But we lift this up, and it's nicer than it looks on camera. You'll just have to take my word for it. Inside the box, we have a nice presentation. I have made this comment many times on the channel in the past. Quality products come in quality packaging, and presentation does matter.
You're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
It affects how people feel about their products. Now, I understand some of you won't care. That's fine. But if you want look at this presentation. You've got the video card, you've got the Starfield graphics, you've got your CPU in the box up here with Starfield graphics on it as well, and all systems go. If this were going to be a truly retail product that you would order from Newegg, for example, I do think they should put something extra in here, a keychain, a coffee mug, maybe would a t-shirt be too much? The problem with t-shirts is size is always a problem. A baseball cap, a couple of goodies in there wouldn't cost too much to include and would definitely be a value add to the package. But this is also a nice way to display your items because once you've got the parts out, put the boxes back in here and it's a pretty cool setup. Taking the CPU out of the box, I want to give AMD credit here. They didn't just print the Starfield graphics on the front. They are on the side and they are even on the back. They even have that same wavy diagram pattern on the top, sides, back, and bottom. The entire box has been redesigned graphics-wise. And of course it says AMD sample, not for resale, because they sent it to Newegg, the Newegg sent it to me. As we open up the box, this is very cool. It actually has graphics on the inside that match Starfield as well. That is really cool. It's got the stripe going all the way across, and it's cut. That is just really... AMD, why are you not selling this at retail? This is awesome. Now, I pulled the paperwork out. This is standard CPU paperwork, nothing special. Big foam block. But when you take the big foam block out, the printing for Starfield is even inside the box. That is a nice touch. It's actually got the Starfield graphics all the way inside. The CPU, however, standard CPU. There's no extra printing on there. It makes sense. Putting the Starfield graphics on the CPU might be overkill, but nope, no Starfield logo on the CPU. Moving along to the video card, the first thing I noticed taking it out of the box is I'm reminded how heavy these things really are. It doesn't look it, but the AMD RDNA 3 cards are very dense. At least the 7900 series are. This is heavier than it looks. And you can see we've got the beautiful Starfield graphics on the front, but check this out. Isn't that pretty? We have got... I won't say it. They should sell this at retail. That is a pretty sweet looking card. Now, a quick note before any of you think that I'm just excited about the fact that AMD sent me some cool stuff. Well, technically AMD didn't, Newegg did, but that's beside the point. I already have a 7900 XTX. This is not my first one. I think it's cool because too much of our computer products are just plain. They're black boxes with black video cards and black motherboards, and they just sort of sit there. There's so very little style to them. Why do we not have more branded video cards, branded cases? I would absolutely think it is cool to have your favorite video game be on your video card. I mean, how many popular video games could be branded onto cards and people would pay an extra $50 to have a video card that looks like their favorite game? Okay, most people probably wouldn't, but some people would. And with the seal cut, we can finally open it up, and you get to see it before I do. Oh, it's white. You already knew that from the picture on the box. This is the same configuration, and it looks like the same cooler that comes on the standard reference card design from AMD. Now, I don't actually have that up here. That's down in our benchmark room at the moment, but it looks and feels exactly like the standard reference card. 2 8-pin PCI Express power connectors, standard ports back here. Yeah, I mean, it's a reference card, but it looks really sweet. And of course, the entire box, just like the CPU box, is branded Starfield. We've got graphics on the inside. We've got the rainbow stripe. We've got the Starfield logo. Very sweet. As I turned the box towards me, I noticed the quote that you all saw before I did. The wonder is not that the field of stars is so vast, but that man has measured it. Fair enough. And it's a box. But, you know, hey, it's a cool box. So what's on this thing? Oh, interesting. There's no plastic to peel. We do have a protector for the PCI Express slot, but I'm not going to take that off. Take a look at the stripe directly on the cooler. You've got the standard rainbow stripe there, which is pretty nice. But check it out when I turn it around to the back. That is a beautiful card. I don't know what they would end up charging for this at retail. I could imagine they'd want an extra $50 on top of it. And of course, if you're not a Starfield fan, none of this makes any difference. If you're not a Starfield fan, are you watching this video? Please do, it'd be appreciated, but you know. And you've even got some red here on the side. Standard ports on the back, you've got HDMI 2.1, you've got 2 DisplayPort 2.1, and then you've got a USB Type-C. It is thicker than a 2-slot card. It's about a 2.5 slot card, but compared to the ridiculous size of some of the other teams' cards, okay, let's just say it. I don't work for AMD. NVIDIA's cards, they're 4080 and 4090. Some of those are utterly ridiculous. Some of those 4090 cards are literally 4-slot cards. They take up a ridiculous amount of room and consume a ridiculous amount of power. This takes up a lot less space and will fit into way more cases. And no funky PCI Express power connector. That's kind of nice. There is another item in here because if you're going to put this into a computer, you wouldn't want ugly black cables plugging into your new beautiful card. So they provided a couple of extensions, one of which has the rainbow colors of Starfield on it and the other of which is white, so you can have the proper color cables coming out of the card. That is a nice and these are actually really nice cables too. Well, that about wraps it up for the unboxing. It's a video card and a CPU, what'd you expect? But it is very cool, and I really do wish they bring this to retail. Maybe if enough people ask for it, they will. Now let's take a look at some benchmarks at 1440p and 4K and see how well this really does. Here is Fortnite running in DirectX 11 performance mode, 1440p medium detail. Frame rate is naturally going to vary a lot in live gameplay sessions such as this. However, we do this to give you a real-world look at what to expect. We have a rolling average frame rate of over 500 frames per second and a 1% low of over 200 frames per second. That is some pretty sweet performance from a game that is no longer as easy to run as it once was. Pardon me while we enjoy some absurdly overpowered pistol action here. Somehow these are some of the most accurate and damaging weapons in the game. I wish I could take credit for this awesome gameplay, but you're actually watching my son Junior Deals get 6 kills in a row here. Maybe he should give up this life of tech videos and start streaming Fortnite. Let us know in the comment section below if you would like to watch him play. Here is a chart with 4 esports games on it. This hardware combo is way overkill for these games for the average person, but for competitive players, it might just be what you're looking for. All games shown will run at 1440p medium detail. This is the Division 2, which actually features a built-in benchmark. However, I find live gameplay to be a useful test to see how well it really holds up. I have hundreds of hours of playtime in this game. It's entirely too much fun. You're watching 4K Ultra Detail in DirectX 12 mode. This is a control point takeover battle you're watching. There is an enemy group defending, and then we have to defend from inbound reinforcements. The Division 2 is 4 years old, but it is still in active development with new content continuing to come out, so check it out if this looks like fun. The CPU usage is hovering around 35%, which equates to 6 of the 8 physical cores on this CPU. Notice the power consumption, it's hardly breaking a sweat, even at 5 GHz. The temperature is at 62 degrees Celsius, which is completely normal for Zen 4. It runs warmer than Zen 3 by design. We have a Noctua NHD15 tower cooler installed on the CPU for reference. The GPU usage is pegged at 100%. At 1440p Ultra, we are using all it's got to provide an average of 108 frames per second and a 1% low of 90. I want to call your attention to the frame time graph below the FPS numbers. It's as smooth as glass for the most part. This game was insanely stable with not a stutter in sight. The VRAM usage, however, was quite high. However, I can tell you this game doesn't actually need this much VRAM, but it will use it to load more textures and smooth out gameplay. It never hurts to have nearby areas preloaded so there are no stutters as you run across the large open world. Here is a chart of 4 games at 4K ultra detail without ray tracing turned on. As you can see, this combo of CPU and GPU has no issue playing any game on the market today at either extremely high frame rate or extremely high detail. That last bit might seem a bit ironic to some of you. Perhaps you're thinking, well, of course it can run any game on the market. That CPU and GPU are worth $1,400. I'd hope they can do that. Well, you'd be right. You should expect that to be the case. However, with all the hype over RTX ray tracing this and fancy features that, sometimes it's easy to forget how solid an all AMD build really can be. Mostly. I'm afraid there is a but coming. Ray tracing is the one area where AMD doesn't measure up, I'm afraid. Now, some of you don't care, and that's 100% fine. You don't have to care. It'll be 3 to 5 years before we start seeing games that actually require ray tracing, so you have time to not worry about that just yet. However, if you are concerned, here is one more benchmark to show you. This is Cyberpunk 2077 4K Ultra Ray Tracing with FSR 2.1 Quality Mode enabled. And as you can see, it just doesn't run very well. It's pretty, to be sure, however, performance has been cut to unacceptable levels simply by enabling ray tracing. Turn ray tracing off and you'd be averaging 83 frames per second and hold above 60 in a 1% low. Here is a chart showing ray tracing on and ray tracing off on 2 different games. The numbers, honestly, speak for themselves. AMD makes some really solid products. The 3D V-Cache CPUs are awesome, and their entire Ryzen lineup kicked Intel right in the boot for being lazy during the 2010s. So thank you, AMD, for being here to keep us moving forward. From a pure raster perspective, the Radeon line of GPUs are great. They work well, and we have had great success with their drivers on the 6000 and 7000 series line of cards. If pure raster price to performance is your concern, they are hands down superior to anything from Team Green. However, from a pure technology perspective, including ray tracing, tensor cores, and unfortunately, raw performance, AMD simply can't compete with NVIDIA's high end. The RTX 4090 is the only real choice for playing Cyberpunk 2077 with ray tracing on at 4K. The same could also be said for Control and most other games featuring ray tracing. NVIDIA's RT and Tensor technology is still 2 generations ahead of AMD. If that's important to you, then buy either an RTX 4070 or an RTX 4090. Skip everything else in the 40 series lineup as they are all really poor values for one reason or another, besides those 2 cards, which are the only ones I would consider. Having said all of that, if you're here looking for the deal, allow me to suggest an RX 7800 XT for $500. Half the price of the 7900 XT. You get 16 gigabytes of VRAM, the newest features available from the Radeon line, a basic set of AI cores, which the 6000 series doesn't give you, and performance that is very competitive. It will handle any game today at 1440p without complaint, so long as you leave the ray tracing off, and it should do so for several years to come. Once again, I want to thank Newegg for sponsoring this video. Links to them and the entire lineup of AMD products will be in the video description below. Those are affiliate links. Using them when you shop, regardless of what you end up buying, supports us directly at no extra cost to you. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of this video. 2 gold stars for all of you still here. Like, comment, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. What'd you think of the results here? Did you like to see the various esports games running that fast at 1440p? How about the AAA games at 4K? Of course, they'll all run better at 1440p, but if you're buying $1,400 for the hardware, 4K is not a bad place to be. I will do a follow-up video to this with more tests and more benchmarks and more actual footage being shown. So be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on to see that coming soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see all of you next time.